What's good YouTube, it's Adam from I'm Music Mobile. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to remake from scratch Don Toliver's E85. The tempo for this one is 132 beats per minute, and the track is produced by Jaasu, Aaron Paris, 206 Derek, and Travis Scott. We're going to kick things off with that sample and take the snippets that we need from it. Before we bring it in, we're going to go ahead and change our tempo over to automatic mode. This way when we bring in that sample, it's going to automatically detect the tempo and make it really easy for us to chop it up. So the sample we'll be using here is Malcolm Todd's Chest Pain I Love. Logic will go ahead and analyze that. And now we can go ahead and find the two sections that we need in that track. We need a vocal section and the main riff that we hear in the track. So start off with that main riff. You can find that at the outro of the track. So right here, we'll take it for a 6-bar length. So we're gonna go ahead and cut it over there, and we'll cut it up over here. Now take note that the time signature for this is 6/8. We're gonna need to drop it down to 4/4, and I'll show you what we're gonna have to do in a moment. But just keep that in the back of your mind there. Next, let's go to the top of the track and get that vocal sample that we need, the I love part that happens in the background.
So I'll lay here instead, symptoms I love.
All right, so it starts there with the I
love.
And I'm just gonna drag this out to a 3-bar lengthened sample.
I love.
And we'll just chop that up as well. So we'll chop that up and we will chop that up. Next thing we gotta do is change the tempo over to E85's tempo and then change that time signature from 6/8 to 4/4. So the first thing that we're gonna do here is make sure that our flex mode is turned on. This way when we change the tempo, Logic will automatically keep everything in time. So we're gonna go ahead to this drop down over here, click tempo, create a new tempo set, and we're gonna change it over to E85's tempo of 132. So you can see everything is still locked at the same length, which is what we need. And then what we're gonna do is go ahead and change the time signature over to 4/4. So we're gonna change the project signature just like that. All right, now our project is set to 4/4. So when we put in our drums and everything, it's gonna be locked to 4/4, not 6/8. But what we gotta do now is start chopping up the sample to make it fit into a 4/4 structure. So let's go ahead and just copy down our vocal track that we're gonna use. And we're gonna copy down our main riff that we're gonna use. I'm just gonna cut that out, put it onto a new track. Now for whatever reason, the length of this changed, so I'm just gonna stretch that out back to 6. It sounds like this at the new tempo. Next, what we gotta do here is just stretch that tempo out to make it a little bit slower. So we're gonna just double time it here. So we're gonna go from 6 to 12. Just drag that out. Now we're gonna go chop it up in a way that we could go from 6/8 to 4/4. So what we're gonna do here is it's just gonna be a little manual work over here. So we're gonna go first 2 beats here, chop it up. Then we're gonna go 1, chop it up. Then we're gonna go 2, chop it up, and we're gonna follow that pattern. 1, 2. All right, and we're just gonna continue that for the whole region. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. All right, so when you're finished, you should have something that looks like this. So once again, that pattern of 2, 1, 2 beats, 1 beat, 2 beats, 1 beats, and you're gonna take that for the whole 12 bars. And then what we gotta do is start taking those 2 beat sections and just placing them right next to each other. So I'm just gonna duplicate another track so you see what we're doing here. So we're gonna bring this down, we're gonna bring this down, and we're just gonna keep bringing those down until we have no more of those to bring in. And then you're gonna find out that it's just gonna fall right into the exact pattern that was played back in Don Toliver's E85. All right, so now we're taking this region from a 6/8 signature down to a 4/4. So it's gonna give us a total of 8 bars here instead of 12. All right, we're almost complete. All right, perfect. Now we have a total of 8 bars. And it sounds like this. Next, we got to go and pitch it down to get a key of B minor. So let's go ahead and select all of these regions. We're going to hold down the Option key and press the arrow down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see it right here. We transposed it down 5 semitones. All right, and that's pretty much all you need to do for that main riff. And then we gotta do the same thing here and stretch it out to double time just to slow it down a bit because it's playing fast.
I love,
So we're gonna go from 3 up to 6.
I love, I
All right, and then what we gotta do here is just extract the vocals first, and then we'll get to some chopping. So we'll select our region, control click, and we'll go to processing stem splitter, and we'll just take out our vocals. That's all we need from here. So now we just have the vocals.
I love.
And then we're gonna go ahead and pitch that up 7 semitones. It's still in the key of B minor, it's just at an octave higher than the previous region that we pitched down, 5 semitones. So we'll select our region, and we're gonna hold down the option key and arrow up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the way we chop up this sample is not as straightforward as the other one, not as mathematical. It's more of like manual placement. So we're going to chop up this first I over here. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this track, and this is just going to be at the top because that's where it is in the track. All right, and then we get this I love part. And then right here is where we start to chop it up a little bit. So what we're going to do here is chop it up right here. So we're going to get this. And then it's going to go the I love part. Okay, we're just going to duplicate this. And then for our last chop, we'll take the last part of the I love. So it's going to be this part right over here. So let's just bring that back. And then right over here is going to be the I part that we had at the top. So this is our 4-bar loop. All right, sounds good. Then we'll just get to some effects. So start off with an EQ. We'll just take out some of the low end here. Make a little bit narrow. Take a little bit of the top end out, and then we'll bring in Logic's Chroma Reverb. We want to make this a sort of washed out, spacey vocal, so just bring that up a bit. All right, and this is going to be in the background behind our main riff over here. All right, and then from there, we go into some strings. We'll go over to our studio strings over here, and we'll bring in the studio violins 2. I'm gonna go and draw on that pattern, and then we'll take a listen to how it sounds. All right, so here is the pattern right there. This is what it sounds like. So that right there is the main part of the strings, but next we gotta add in a top line. So for that, we're gonna go ahead and duplicate this, and we'll just draw this one together because it's not as long. Next, we're going to layer it up so it sounds nice and full like the original track. So for the next layer, we're going to go ahead and create a new software instrument track. And we'll bring in Logic's Mellotron. So let's go Control Command P, and we'll bring in Logic's Mellotron. We'll copy down the same main chords of this string section. All right, next let's go ahead and add in some other strings. So we'll create another software instrument track. We'll just do another top lead here. For this, we're gonna go over to our orchestral section. We'll go to strings, and we'll bring in the violas. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and create another string section here with this section once again, just to really fill it out. We'll go back to the orchestral, we'll go to strings. For this time, we'll bring in the cellos. You see how it fills it out. And then for the last two bars, we really need to emphasize that section. So what we're gonna do here is really articulate this a little harder here. And we'll just add in a top note here. So it's basically just following the chord progression, just adding a top note. All right, so that is our string section. I may go back and add in a couple strings in the arrangement, but for now, this is okay until we get to the mix. And then we're gonna move on to the drums section. First thing that we need to do here though is take our intro bit here. And I'm gonna just bounce this in place. And what we're gonna do here is just take that out. Don't need anything like that, so bounce that in place. And what we're gonna do is stem split this for this section and really take out the, let me just lock it on the 1, there we go. We'll go to stem splitter and we're just gonna take out the bass and the guitar. And we're gonna need it for this section here. It sounds like this. So for the bass, I'm just gonna take out this. Just focus on those sub frequencies. And then we're gonna process the guitar a little bit. So we'll add in an EQ. Because it's a stem split, it's not gonna sound too good, especially in this one because it's really full. All right, that just cleans it up a bit. And then we're gonna bring in, let's go to a pedal board here. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and bring in this effect right here. Just give it more of like a dirty sound. Maybe I'll put that before the EQ actually, and I'll make it a little bit more. All right, I think that sounds good. All right, so that's really gonna happen in the background. Next, let's get to the drums. All right, so for the drums, I'll be using the Octane deconstructed kit I put together. Link will be down below if you're interested in the drum sounds from Octane. So we'll go to the first track here, E85, and what we're gonna do is take our hi-hat. Let's start off with something easy, bring it into a drum machine designer. And it's just gonna be a two-step thing here. So we'll just go, let's open that up. Create a pattern region in here. And it's gonna be an 8. Because the samples are reversed, we'll probably have to move it a little bit just to keep it in time. So you see how that snare's a little off. We'll have to move that a little later. Next, let's go to our triangle. This is gonna layer up that snare. So this is gonna go right on the 3 as well. Except this is going to be a little quicker. All right, next, let's get to that kick. This basically just repeats itself. All right, we'll make that nice and loud as well. And then we'll get in that open hat, drag that into our drum machine designer. Create a pattern region, and it's gonna happen right here, except it only happens on the second set of 16 steps. All right, now let's get everything in time. So just to make it easy, I'm gonna go ahead and bounce this in place. I'll bounce the snare in place just so you can visually see what's happening, and the kick. All right. So what we're gonna do now is line up the snare so that it happens on the 3, this sharp point or the highest most point of the snare. All right, so we're hearing 2 because I gotta reverse that Got to reverse that. Sorry, mute that. And we'll mute our kick track as well. So the hi-hat, we got to do the same thing. So you want to line it up to the highest most part. Can't really talk today. Highest most part of that transient there. All right, and then for the kick, the same thing. So we want to bring our kick to, I think it's this part here. Let's see. Yeah. So we got it set for 8 bars, and then we're going to go ahead and bring in that bass. For that, we'll create a new software instrument track. And we're going to go ahead and bring in Logic's ES2 synthesizer. We'll design the sound from scratch. For now, we'll just go ahead and just use the default setting here. Let's go ahead and draw in that pattern. It's going to go something like this. So let's go down to a nice low octave here. And let's just start off at the top here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and duplicate that pattern. Today is pretty much the same. We're just going to go ahead at the end of the pattern, take that note out and stretch it out. So now let's go ahead and get to the sound design, because this doesn't sound anything like what we need. So let's go ahead and open up Logic's ES2. The first thing that we're going to do is turn on, or make this a little bigger. The first thing that we're going to do is turn on unison. It's nice and fat. We'll turn on some detuning. Bring down the cutoff a bit. Pull up the resonance here a bit. Add in some meat with the drive. And then we'll go over to our envelope 3 here. And just up the attack a bit so it's not so plucky. We got a little distortion as well. And together it sounds like this. Then we got to bring in EQ and just take out some of the bottom end, because we're not going to conflict with that bass that we put in earlier. And we'll take out some of the top end as well. So then we're going to go ahead and add in this little blip that happens, like this little blip synth thing that happens at the end of the pattern. So what we're going to do here is create a new software spin track. We'll bring in Logic's ES2 once again. We'll design it from scratch. I'm just going to go and draw on that pattern, and then we'll get to some sound design. All right, but of course that's not the right sound. So let's go ahead and design that. So open up Logic's ES2 synthesizer over here. And this is basically just going to be a 1 oscillator synth. It's really easy to make. We'll put it on a sine wave. We'll set it over to mono so that the notes don't overlap each other. And that's really all there is to it. I'm just going to go ahead and put in an EQ and take out the bottom end, and then we'll add in some reverb to put in a space. All right, and I'll bring in Logic's chroma reverb and just put it into a nice space. All right, so that's pretty much the beat right there. There is one more section of strings, and we'll get to that once we jumped over to the mix and arrangement. So let's get to that. All right, so here is the main arrangement over here. I just want to point out some things that I added and changed here in the mix just to make it sound a little fuller and more like the original track. So I added in a couple more strings here to layer out that last section. This is what our strings sounds like now. All right, so that just sounds a little bit fuller. I added in this EXS strings 1 over here, found in the legacy strings of Logic. Since the update, you can't actually find the legacy strings in your browser. You got to go ahead and find it within the sampler, which is kind of annoying. It works, I guess. You get the same sounds, you just don't get all the effects that was with the original preset. Hopefully Logic will have an update and bring back those sounds into our sound library. All right, and then I'm going to skip forward to that secondary string section that I was talking about here. And it sounds like this, and we'll break down each instrument. All right, so big string section over here. Once again, we're using the Studio Violins 2 over here, found under Studio Strings. This is sort of our top melody that's happening on our strings. And then I'll show you like the main foundation to these strings. So this is using Logic's Vintage Mellotron once again over here for this one. So similar sounds that we used in the first half. And then we have this group of strings here. So it's a group of strings that just makes it sound really full. And then for this nice little crescendo part, it looks like this. We're using Logic's Logic Studio Violins 2 once again, except on this part, our articulation is set over to spiccato. And then layered underneath that is the same bass from before, except with a different pattern. We have the drums from the original track here just stemmed out, playing on its own. And then there were some guitars playing as well. Now, if I recreated that with MIDI, it just won't sound the same. So I just sampled that from the track, and these are the guitars here. So we got a guitar sample over here, and then for the outro, I took that as well from the track. That's pretty much it. Now let's go ahead and take a listen to how everything sounds together. So that right there is Don Toliver's E85 remade in Logic Pro. For Logic Pro users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you, plus it as a download link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. Go explore our MIDI stamps, audio stamps, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback down below the like button as well. If you do have a question on this or just want to chat or have any suggestions for future videos, let's chat down below. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Later. Peace.